สวัสดีค่ะ and welcome back to At Brain Site here on GBN Station. You are now with me, Konkana Ushitpan. I'm sure that many of you have questions about life after death. And today, the teaching monk from Mind Stories YouTube channel will clarify all of our doubts about it. Let's get started.
In Buddhism, we believe that when the mind is clouded and not bright, we go to unwholesome place. On the contrary, when the mind is bright and clear, we go to wholesome place after we pass away. We do believe there are more than just one life. We're talking about something like rebirth, which means that we are born into different state. Depend whether it could be positive, it could be negative based on the actions that we do in this life. So that's why we can design how we're going to be the way we go after our death. So the way it works depends on what kind of action that we have done regularly and what we can be reminded of ourselves on the last moment of our lives that will dictate the way we are going to be reborn into. However, I know that scientists these days may not believe in the life after death. But think about it this way. There are things that human ability to detect have still not reached to that extent yet. So just blindly believe that things that we don't know doesn't exist may not be the right way of thinking. In science says that energy does not disappear. It just changes its form, which means that the energy that becomes who you are today must have certain kind of predecessor that result into becoming who you are, and after you die, the energy of you will transform into something else. They may not be able to detect those yet, like this. In the old days, people see sunlight in just one color. They see rainbow as different thing. But nowadays, with science, we understand that there are something called spectrum, which 7 different rays exist in the sunlight. And after it goes to a prism, it can differentiate into 7 different colors. It exists long before in the sunlight, but human lack of the ability to detect it. Or in the old days, when people get sick, they don't know about the microorganisms, they don't know about bacteria, they just think people got sick because of different reasons. So after a while, they have better ability to detect it. But still, when they're fine, then when they found bacteria, they didn't know about the virus because virus was a lot smaller as well. So you see that human technology keep getting better and better to detecting something. But it doesn't mean that human reach the ultimate level of technology to detect everything yet. So my point would be, if you still feeling doubt about life after death, you can take it like when you buy life insurance. When you buy life insurance, you're not like, the kind of insurance that, if I die, I'm gonna get $1 million. If I lose an eye, I get $500,000. When you buy it, you don't really think about getting money. I mean, you may think about it, but you don't intend to have one because it means you're going to die. So you buy them just in case. So think about life after that in that sense at the beginning would be helpful, because if you do good things in this life, to yourself and others, whether there's a future life or life after death, you're already happy with your good behavior, good conduct. You live a full life that make other people around you happier too. So that's actually a decent way of living. If there is no future life, you're already happy with this one. But if there is future life, that means you're going to get the bonus. But if you start off by, I don't care because there's no such thing as future life, I can just corrupt my life anywhere I want it, then the result of my negative action that I hurt myself and hurt people around me will eventually trouble me and get back at me. So which means in this life, I'm gonna go ups and downs with a lot of problems. If there is no future life or life after death, I already feel suffer with this one. But if, a big if, there is future life and life after death, that means I have a long punishment waiting for me to suffer. So why don't you think about it in the same way, just in case, and focus on your action today? Because with the future life or life after death would be like, it all depends on one factor. your own action in the present moment. Whenever we do any action based on our negative feelings or negative emotions, it tends to create a mental image of how we want to be. For example, when let's say I yell at someone, imagine a person's face when they are yelling. What does it look like? It doesn't look like smiling, it looks like something with fangs. So you see that you already designed the way you're going to be looking like in the future. Or when I get drunk, I'm going to be crawling, walking. So imagine what kind of mental image I imprinted. So one thing that really strong is that every mental image that we imprinted can be like a blueprint that will affect how our future state will be like. So in Buddhist text, we talk about being born as an animal as a part of so-called serving like a punishment for us in reducing the quality of human being. So as becoming a human being, it is the only form that you can make choices to do good and do bad. So you should use this opportunity of having human body to the full extent to gain most benefit, not just to yourself, but people around you, because all of those benefits will eventually return to you. That is why the cycle of rebirth is something the Buddha said is way too long to talk about the beginning and way too long to talk about the end. So it sounds endless. There is something that called the end of rebirth, and that's why the ultimate goal of Buddhism is to end rebirth. And whenever rebirth ends, it ends our sufferings, because whenever we are born, we're going to go through the same nature of sufferings again: sickness, aging, death, parting from what we love, lamentations, not getting what we wanted. So all of this will come into place. And whenever we break any law of karma, we also will sort of receive the retribution of them too. So end of rebirth will be like the final escape. So this cycle of existence that we call samsara can be compared to a prison. And everybody is locked up in here, but this prison is way too big, so you can't see the wall until it makes us feel like we are born free. But eventually we're gonna end up dying here, and we don't know when we are going to die. And when we die, we're gonna be returning to this world again, to whichever form. So which means we're gonna end up living in this prison. So basically the end of rebirth will be like you find your way, break out of the prison. When you talk about who is the Buddha, the simplest answer will be the Buddha is just like us. He was one of the prisoners locked up in this prison, and he found a way to get out of the prison. And not only he found the way, he also takes some people with them. So as we haven't reached that state yet, we're still looking for the way. At least be aware that we're still in the prison and continue to behave as good as we can and trying to find a way to break out of the prison. And during the time we serve in this prison, it doesn't come as we wish it to be. They're good, they are bad, but at least we are sharing it with other cellmates so that we can really help each other to make life a lot easier for everybody, so that our fellow inmates feel happy as well and can finally break out of this prison together. I really like the movie Matrix, or even the modern concept of metaverse, that it's like we are trapped in some kind of illusion. If you know that in the Buddhist context, there is something that called delusion, which is one of the mental impurity that manifests in the mind. So this prison that we talk about as a cycle of existence is very hard to see. It will be like if you have cows, cattle in your farm, and you let those cattle roam free. So they're gonna be spending their lives feeling like they are born free, not knowing where that they are trapped in the farm, until it last moment that they end up, being slaughtered, and they realize their whole life they are not free at all. Just like us, we live in this world, we feel that we are born free because we don't see the wall, but we don't really have the choice to escape death, sufferings of any kind yet. We still fall under those nature. So that means we're still under this prison. Basically just like Matrix. So the moment we are able to calm our mind, keep it standstill, it's just like when we take the red pill and break out of this reality, this delusion, illusion, and see the reality as it is. The tricky part is that the Buddha did not mention about who created the whole matrix. He only tells us that right now you're in here. in order to free yourself from suffering is to get out of it. Because the moment you get out, you're going to be finding out who built it from the first place. There are things that the Buddha did not explain fully because in his time there were many theories, there were many teachers, there are many ways of explanations, and there are things that even though it was explained, people will be not easy to understand as well because the frame of reference are not the same. So it's like if I ask you what chili tastes like, and you try to explain how spicy it is, it will be very hard until I taste it myself. It will be similar that unless two people sharing the same experience and they can be the same, they will share the same frame of reference. So that's why the Buddha did not mention about the beginning, but he focused on the most important, which is the problem. The problem is that you are a prisoner in this prison, and in order to be free is to calm the mind, still the mind, keep doing good deeds, so you get your chance to find the way out. And when you find your way out, you're going to be able to realize you build it. In Buddhism, the Buddha did not really mention about the beginning of it all, but he talks about the fraction of it, which is this world. So basically, since the timeline in Buddhist context is a lot longer than we can imagine, so even the timeline of this world, the beginning and the end of this world seems to be very long. We call it kappa or eon. So basically, let's say it like this. In one eon, it's so long that we can make an analogy that if you dig a hole, 16 kilometers in each of the dimension, and every 100 years, you put a grain of sand in that hole. The time of the beginning until the end of this world is about the time equal to you can fill up the hole with sand. So that's how long it is. So the Buddha talked about this fraction of time, which is similar to scientists say Big Bang. It started off with the empty space, and then the dust started to form the first piece of land. But after it's formed, it became existent to 1/4. And then it spent another 1/4 in the destruction of it. And then another 1/4 of emptiness, another 1/4 of forming up. So this is how the cycle of the 4 quarters of this world from the beginning of the end come about. So we are living in just one part in the fraction of time of a lot of past lives and a lot of future lives. My master said there are 2 kinds of people. Don't know that they don't know and know that they don't know. One thing that the Buddha talks about as the origin of all kinds of mental impurity is called avijja or ignorance. Ignorance can mean 2 things. Don't know something at all, or know something that is wrong or partially know. So these 2 things cut us from seeing the truth of reality. When we are born, we know nothing at all. We don't know why we are here. We don't know where we are from. We don't know what we should be doing. We don't know where we go after this. When we don't know any of this, we let our physical needs drive us into action. We are hungry, so we try food. We are thirsty, we find water. We feel cold and hot, we seek shelter. So we let our physical needs drive us into action. Later on, when we're more growing up, we let our emotion needs drive us into action. We have love, hate, fear. So those things drive us into different action as well. And all actions are karma, which create retribution to be reborn again and again. So ignorance as the origin of it all clouded from seeing a reality. And that reality is that what we should be doing when we have this life. When the Buddha come to explain about the Dhamma refers to the truth of life, that this is the life that you spend as a prisoner in this prison. And your task is very simple, break all of it. And that's reality. Reality is that there's a law of karma that imposed on us. And if we don't break them at all, we have our chance to get out of it. So that's what ignorance really plays. The hard part is that not that we don't know everything. There are things that we partially know and we take it as absolutely right. And when we being like that, it's like a glass full of water. So much that we so confident in things that we partially know until we can't let ourselves fill up with new knowledge at all. So that's why take your time into the practice of meditation. Allow your mind to be clear of your own ignorance. And with that, you started to have something called insight, inner knowledge that already inside you. And that insight will tell you about that reality and help you to see the truth a lot easier. In that way, when all the ignorance are gone, the truth will reveal itself.
And I would like to invite all of our viewers to like and subscribe Mind Stories YouTube channel. Now it's time for us to say goodbye. Have a great weekend. อนุโมทนาบุญและสวัสดีค่ะ